Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the week. This is some footage that I got at AGP Pittsburgh after the event was over. I am playing at the Dark Atlas list that I played in the event. It is blue-black and was made by my friends on Team OGRE, my fellow ogres. And I am playing against Greg Newman, who is playing a black-blue-white Shion list. It is designed to be able to quickly, its whole win condition essentially is to flip Shion and bring out Celestial Wing Seraph and Lucifer all in one big move, and then just kind of crack down with flyers and life gain to the point where you can't handle it anymore. So he won the die roll, so he will definitely be going first. So let's see how it goes. For those of you who are wondering, the blue-black Dark Atlas list, I went 5-3 at the event, so didn't top 8, but still placed 52nd, had a good time. So he flipped over that Hymnals Memoria and called Space-Time Anomaly, so he gets that right off the top. And then he plays the Shangri-La, the Trader of Shangri-La, so starts his draw engine there. I play Scorn of Dark Atlas and rip the Lucifer out of his hand. I don't want that card coming back to hit me later, and because there's not a real on-board presence right now other than the Shangri-La, I'm not too worried. So he taps before upkeep to ship that card down at the bottom as well. Taps for a second stone, gets that Dark Depths. Pitches a Hydromonica to draw a card. Gets the Death Scythe off the top. And then decides to pass the turn. It's going to me, I get my blue-black stone, I play an Artemis Bow, and I play Spiral of Despair. I force him to go down to 0 cards in his hand. This makes me feel pretty comfortable. Yes, he's Shion, so he can redraw stuff, and he can, stack what card he's drawing next, but I would always rather have my opponent be only at 1 card in their hand at the beginning of their turn, the card that they have to top deck, than anything else. Plus more cards in the grave or more targets for me to remove from the game, so that's always helpful. So he taps for his 3rd stone. Trader of Shangri-La doesn't do anything, but he gets that Levitine off the top. So I play a Cheshire Cat to try to draw some cards. Decided to put, I think I put the 0 back on top of my deck, and at the end he uses excuse me, he uses Trader to stack his top deck, and same with Hydromonica to stack that top deck. Trying to make it something hopefully that he can flip effectively into with Shion. So during his upkeep, he's going to tap both Levitine and Death Scythe, so Shion's going to get a pump this turn. He's hoping that the deck was kind to him and put a Celestial Wing Seraph on top, because he couldn't stack it, but what he can do is he can use his 2 cards again to try to stack it before it happens. So he's going to draw the 1 off of Trader, ship it to the bottom. It wouldn't really make much sense for him to hold on to a Sign of the Future. Doesn't really do much in this instance. He go ahead and taps 3 to play Shion and flips, and it's a Dreams of Juliet. So I got lucky there in the form of it didn't hit Celestial Wing Seraph. That would have been really bad for me. But he is flying in the air, so I'm going to take 1,300 damage from that. And then he passes the turn. I'm going to draw. I'm going to remove 2 cards from his graveyard. I think I hit the Space-Time Anomaly because I don't want him to flash it back. And the Lucifer. Then I recover. The problem here is I have a Death Scythe in my, I have a Levitine in my hand. The problem here being that because of that Death Scythe, I can't just immediately swing in and kill the Shion. And if I flip too soon, he can just untap and use the God's Art and kill Dark Atlas. So I don't want to do that. So I'm in a position here where, especially since I'm playing a ruler-based deck, that I have to be really careful. So then I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn. Does the double taps again, so he's going to get 15 damage. Recovers. At this point, Greg's in pretty good position. I mean, he gets to just kind of hit me in the face a bunch of times. Plays the Cheshire Cat. Especially since it's flying and I can't do anything. There's that Celestial Wing Seraph, which at this point he probably doesn't really need. He's not really going to be tapping for stone anytime soon. I'll take another 1300, putting me down to 1400. He plays an Alice's Little Scout, and he passes the turn. And I'm going to draw. I pay 200 to remove 2 more cards from his grave for the black from the Moonshades. So now I've got 4 cards gone. I recover. Trying to figure out a way to get rid of that Shion right now. I'm going to go ahead and play 1 for a Cheshire Cat, and I luckily hit exactly what I want off the top with a space-time anomaly. I wish it had been a Hera, because if it had been a Hera, then I could have done a lot more work. But space-time anomaly works just as well. I'm going to go ahead and play the Levitine and get it into play. He's going to go ahead and ship some cards before the draw. Make sure he draws what he wants. He's gonna draw. He's gonna do 2 taps, and then in response to the taps, what I'm gonna do is so before they've resolved, I'm gonna target Space-Time Anomaly, and then we're doing some shortcutting there. I paid 200 to Space-Time Anomaly again. I'm just essentially saying that once it resolves the first time, I'm gonna cast it again, and he's gonna respond by sacking his Alice's Little Scout to the Levitine. In order to just draw the card that he put on top. What he could do here is he could sacrifice the Levitine to get Swiftness, or to get Imperishable, but he forgets to do that. So I get to draw 2 cards here. He's gonna let all of that resolve. So the technical order of how that should have happened is he would do 2 taps, those are on the chase. Then the first Space-Time Anomaly goes on the chase. Then I can't cast the second one yet because it's technically not on the grave. He sacrifices, either lets it resolve, and then I put the second one on the chase, or he just sacrifices the Alice's Little Scout, and then the Space-Time Anomaly resolves, and then I get to cast it again, and it resolves again. So each time it resolves is when I draw a card. So we're shortcutting a little bit. It was a long day, but all in all, that's how it should work in a tournament. That's how you should be playing it in a tournament. So I played the Hera to pop the Death Scythe. I want to get that out of the way. Feeling pretty confident now. I've got his Jade Ruler off the board. I'm going to look at his hand just to see if he's got a Celestial Wing Seraph. He does not. Has 2 Dreams of Juliet and Space-Time Anomaly, and I go ahead and pass the turn. He's going to use that Space-Time Anomaly on my Hera. I'm just going to sacrifice it. Doesn't really matter. Death gets to draw a card. So at this point, he's hoping to be able to, he's got to be able to start tapping for a Celestial Wing Seraph, which means he has to find one. Or you see he put in his hand a Purple Mist. So that is untargetable, which is a problem. It has Shroud, so it's perfectly safe. I'm going to flash in 0 at the end of the turn to start putting some pressure on the board. I'm getting that Cheshire Cat on his side off the board. I'm going to draw for turn, tap for stone, or tap for Levitine. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Space-Time Anomaly. He's going to respond by trying to bring RFG 3 cards. And I'm just going to bring his Death Scythe back, and in response I'm just going to RFG his Death Scythe. Pay 2 more for a Spiral of Despair. Ship those last 2 cards out of his hand. Gonna do Judgment with my acrylic Dark Alice there. I'm going to call 6 or 5 to be able to pop the Purple Mist. And immediately go into God's Art, so I pay 200 there, putting myself down to 800. Then I just start swinging, so 14 or 1600 because there are more than 5 cards removed. So Dark Alice is going to be pretty big there, and 7 from 0, putting him down to 1700. So now I have him in a position where he's got no board, he's got no J ruler, he's tapped out, so he can't stack his draw, and he doesn't know what his top card is because he can't look at it anymore because Shion's dead. So he's literally just off the top. Gotta figure out, hope that he gets something, and unfortunately he draws into Sign of the Future, which he could technically trigger right now and remove my 0, but he couldn't do anything else. So that's it for that game. So we are gonna go into game 2. So hopefully game 2 is a similar kind of story. Hopefully he doesn't flip Shion as fast. That would be very important for me. See, he's got that Sign of the Future. Unfortunately, Sign of the Future is post mulligan, so it really doesn't help him much. Plays that Trader of Shangri-La, gets the Hydromonica out, so pretty strong. Right off the bat, he's going to be able to look at and kind of ship 2 cards at a time. But I go ahead and respond by Soul Hunting. He's going to go ahead and respond to that by using the Trader. He doesn't want that card that's on top, so he's just going to ship it to the bottom and discard the Sign of the Future. So already I've got him down to only 2 cards in hand, which feels really good. Pitches the Hydromonica, puts it to keeps it at 3 cards in hand. He's gonna, before the upkeep, he's still gonna ship another card. I don't know why he drew that one. I guess he drew. Seems like he drew an extra card there. Drew for turn an extra time, but I might have been wrong. Plays the Cheshire Cat. Plays another Cheshire Cat. So that's a good, like, anytime he has to wall up like that feels good to me because it gives me more time to act. Play my own Cheshire Cat to draw some cards. And I hit a Barrier of Shadows, which feels really good against a Shion player. Now their Hydromonicas can't be free ships. In response to it happening, though, he's going to go ahead and ship 1 card. It also means that he has to pay 2 in order to stack a card, and his Judgment now costs 4. So like, it significantly slows down a Shion player, which feels really good in this situation. Especially considering how last time I just had to deal with a flying Shion. So he plays that Horn. Can keep looking at the top card, and then just goes ahead and passes. He's out for a stone and pass as well. He is going to ship a card to the bottom. And then before his draw, he's going to just trying to decide what he wants to do here. He's going to go ahead and pay 1 to draw a card off the Hydromonica. Discarding 1 and then draw for turn. He's essentially just trying to stack his hand perfectly here so that when he does flip, he's able to make it count. Plays the Trader of Shangri-La. Plays the Death Scythe. Passes a turn. I'm gonna go ahead and Unseen Pressure the Trader. If I had a 0 in my hand, I could have flashed that in. and just made a lot of impact, but I did not. So before my recovery, I'm going to go ahead and remove 2 cards from his grave, tap for another stone. And then I go ahead and once again just pass the turn. So this turn he's gonna try to make some moves. So before the upkeep he taps all 3 of his regalia. So now Shion's gonna get plus 6, 400 attack and defense, and deal an additional 200 damage, which is a lot. Thankfully he doesn't have Apollo, so Cheshire Cat will be able to block it. Unless he had a Celestial Wing Seraph on the top of his deck, which would be unfortunate. Just reveals a Lucifer though, which works just as well, and Cheshire Cats get sacrificed. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1500 damage from that Shion. Puts me down to 25. So I'm going to go ahead and remove 2 cards from his grave and use 1 space-time anomaly on his Shion before recovery. So space-time anomaly is now in the grave. I get to draw my cards. I'm going to cast it again. He can't. Again, he can't even activate to get imperishable there because of the barrier of shadows. So I have successfully gotten Shion off the board again. I'm going to remove 2 cards, and here's where I get a little greedy, so this was my mistake. I make him, I get pretty greedy here. I definitely did not need to flip. I had ways to be able to deal with that I have ways to deal with the Lucifer. I have time to deal with the Lucifer. I can't even swing in this turn. The Cheshire Cats aren't really doing anything against me. And unfortunately, I'm now sitting at, he has that Death Scythe on board, and I know he plays space-time anomalies, so I literally have just opened myself up to being double space-timed if he has one in hand, so that's a problem for me. And lo and behold, in his hand is the space-time. So now I just get to experience getting double space-timed as well. So we both have no J rulers at this point. So that was a big mistake for me. I had 3 will open. I had lots of options to be able to deal with his hand and play a little bit more safe and do a judgment into God's Art. Again, those Cheshire Cats weren't doing anything to me. The Lucifer had answers, so definitely something to keep in mind. That was really loose on my part because now I have to try to play the grind game with creatures, and that's never a fun place for this deck to be. Especially against a deck that can bring in things like Celestial Wing Seraphs and Lucifers. See, the problem here is the grind game post flip would be a lot easier if I had already done God's Art, but because that Cheshire Cat would immediately be dead. But the problem is, again, I did not play it safe. I did not give myself enough will. I was too greedy about trying to just eliminate the board in the flashiest way possible, I guess. And I ended up getting punished for it. So now it's just an uphill battle. So during the upkeep, I'm going to go ahead and make Izanami an 8/8 with my Little Red the Purestone. Play a Death Scythe, not that it matters. Play another Cheshire Cat, try and draw some cards. See, I have my zeros, which is good. I'm gonna swing in for 800 damage. He's gonna let that go through. I'm gonna go ahead and pass. Going into his turn, taps for that stone, gets the Moonshade. plays blue-black. Play Muse. Swings in for 1,000 in the air. Gonna respond by flashing and feasting. Or sorry, flashing in 0 and pumping it up. This is me being a little bit too flashy, I guess. He's gonna space-time anomaly my 0 after the pump but before the block. And then what we also missed is that Cheshire Cat on his side of the board should be dead because of the -2/-2. So but with the space-time anomaly, I don't even successfully kill because of the Muse. I don't even successfully kill the Purple Mist because Muse just prevents all that damage. And that Alice's little scout should also be immediately dead. We missed that with the 0, but we'll catch it here in a little bit when I flash in the second one. Before my upkeep, I'm going to unseen pressure the Muse to get it off the board. Don't want to deal with that. It only has 400 attack. Pay 2, make him discard 2 cards out of his hand. Discards a space-time anomaly and a Levitine. I'm gonna go ahead and swing in for 8. He's gonna block with the Alice's little scout, which technically should be dead. So that should be 600 damage, but not so much because we weren't catching board states. So it's gonna go ahead and play a Cheshire Cat, start drawing cards again. This is literally just a battle to see who can run out of resources first. He's gonna swing in with a Purple Mist, and I'm gonna do what I should have done the first time, which is to flash in 0, kill his 2 drops, and block with the Cheshire Cat that he can't target because it will have lost. Purple Mist loses flying for the turn, so Cheshire Cat is able to block it. So his 2 Cheshires get killed. And then he's able to hard cast the 0 for 4, or sorry, the Lucifer for 4. And I'll sacrifice the Izanami, which also doesn't really make much sense, because if we're playing a race, I should just be sacrificing the Cheshire Cats. And then he plays a Cheshire Cat, which immediately gets shuffled into the deck. And he gets to draw 2 and discard 2. See, he didn't really shuffle very well there, he just kind of like moved his cards around, so I'm gonna unshuffle. That was one thing I noticed a lot, is there are some people who just purely kind of cut the deck a couple times to shuffle the card back in, and that's why I've gotten into the habit of when I do things, I try and shuffle it right off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and Stoning to Death the Lucifer during the upkeep, tapping for stones because there's nothing else our rulers can do. I'll swing on the ground for 7, so I get to tie the game up back at 25. I'm gonna go ahead and decide to pass the turn there, I think. Either that or I make him discard some cards with Izanami. Oh yeah, I'm gonna Soul Hunt to get that Purple Mist off the board. Gonna get that Cheshire Cat back in the deck. At this point in time, I'm purely just trying to race him so that he doesn't see a Celestial Wing Seraph. I can make him be completely out of cards. I have enough to do double Izanami, and I have 2 Izanamis in the grave. Kind of waiting until he overcommits. He's gonna tap 1 to discard a card to discard a Hydromonica to draw a card. He's gonna get the White Stone. He's gonna play the Arthur. In response to the Arthur, this is when I should be using Izanami, because it would make him discard 2 cards. I'm gonna pump up my 0, and I'm gonna make him discard. There it is. I'm gonna make him discard both cards. So now he has no hand. That Arthur is a problem. So now I have to attack it as soon as he taps it. Tap for my stone. He's going to respond by tapping Arthur, so I'm forced to attack it. I play Cheshire Cat, and I get really lucky here. I draw into Hera and Soul Hunt. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Soul Hunt back on top. Play Hera to pop his Death Scythe. So I get a guaranteed draw. And then I get to play the Soul Hunt and sacrifice my Cheshire Cat and take care of his Arthur. So now Zero's gonna get to swing in for 900 damage and get in that 16. I could pump it up to making it 1100 damage, put him down to 14, but I'd rather save it just in case he tries to space-time anomaly my Zero, so in response I can pump it up to being still surviving the space-time. He's gonna bring his Death Scythe back to his hand. I've got no cards in my hand, I've got no cards in my hand. He's got no cards in his, or one card in his. We're both just top decking, and that one card in his hand is Death Scythe. He's also going to shuffle his whole deck, his whole graveyard back into his deck, so he's now replenished things. So he gets to use all of his resources twice, in a sense. Just gonna draw. Gonna recover. Gonna play a Cheshire Cat. It's Lucifer and a Dreams of Juliet, which is almost perfect for this situation. I guess what he can do is he can play Lucifer. You play Lucifer, which will make me sack a creature. Sack the Hera. And then in response, he'll just flat Dreams of Juliet the Lucifer, making me sacrifice my other creature. So it's a big investment, 6 will, but it does clear my entire board. And then he taps for stone and passes. I tap for my last stone, and I just have to pass at that point. So he tries to do the thing where he can sacrifice Hydromonica to stack any card on top of his deck, but that actually costs him 3 because his Jade Ruler is Astral, so it no longer gets the cost reduction, and it has the +1 cost from Barrier Shadows. So he swings on the ground in the air for 900 with Lucifer. I'm going to go ahead and pay 2 Space-Time Anomaly. It's going to resolve. I'm going to pay 2 Space-Time Anomaly, resolve it again. So draw my 2 cards. So I got to replenish my hand there and got Lucifer off the board. Not that it really does much for me. He's going to try to guess what it was with Celestial Wing Seraph, but it was actually a Shangri-La. It comes into play tapped because his Jade Ruler is not Shion anymore. Get to draw a card. I try and play Levitine because why not? Try and Scorn to see if he gets a card off the top of his deck. It's just the Death Scythe. I go ahead and say let's just go to game 3, because at that point I know that he's going to get a Celestial Wing Seraph easily, and I'm just out of luck. So we're going to go to game 3. Just the grind game just did not work out for me. I played really loose there, put myself in a game situation that I didn't need to be in, and got punished for it. So I'm going to be on the play. Both of us are just going to mulligan. I'm going to mulligan 1. He mulligans 2. I tap for my first stone. Barrier Shadows. So I know that those barriers are really important early on against him for being able to control his deck. So I got very lucky and got one very early. So I'll go ahead and put it into play right now. So he got the Moonshade, which is less than ideal for him. Plays Levitine, pays 200 and plays, I believe, a Cheshire Cat here, which makes sense. He needs to draw 2 cards. One thing that's interesting to note about Shion is you can, with Cheshire Cat, you can draw 2, look at the top card and then put your card back on top, so you can kind of plan 2 turns ahead. So I'm going to play a bow and a Spiral of Despair. The fewer cards he has in his hand, the better, and it puts me in a position of being able to RFG them for Dark Alice. He doesn't have a very aggressive deck right off the bat, and because of that Barrier of Shadows, I'm slowing that aggression down even more, so taking the time to be able to RFG his cards is perfect right now. Taps for his second stone. Hydramonic, he gets the Hymnal's Memoria. Calls a card. Gets it. Cheshire Cat. Plays it. Draws 2. Gets a Dreams of Juliet. It's double Dreams of Juliet. I think he put the Lucifer back on top. Pays 200. Puts him down to 36. Plays another Cheshire Cat. Finally sees that Hydramonica that he's been looking for. And he passes the turn. So with those Dreams of Juliet, he could be popping the Barrier of Shadows. The problem is against Dark Alice, every single time he wastes will to pop one of those barriers, like especially now that I've jammed a second one, wasting the will to be able to jam those barriers lets me get turns ahead, which is always great for me. So I go down to 38 and I play Soul Hunt. They can get rid of one of the Dreams of Juliet, and I'll play my own Cheshire Cat. So again, he could be taking the time to pop them, but every single time he does, it just gives me more of an edge, because it wastes his will. He gets less board presence, gives me more turns where I can just survive and just amass cards against him. So it's kind of a trade-off here in this situation. So draws for his turn, taps for a stone. And I think I'm pretty sure he just passes there. Oh, so he goes ahead and decides to play 2. So he passed. I drew Coldstone passed because I can sit on answers now, and then he drew, and in upkeep he's playing Laying the Foundation, so he gets to just stack cards on top of his deck. So he draws 3 cards and puts 2 cards back on top of his deck in any order. Then he gets to recover. Taps for a stone. Sign of the Future is essentially worthless in his hand. Plays another Hydramonica and simply passes the turn. So this is great for me because this means I get a free set of cards to RFG with all my sunk will essentially. So I'm gonna go ahead and make him discard a card with Izanami that I had in my grave from the Soul Hunt earlier. Pitches he's got to choose between kind of 3 dead cards right now. I picked the Sign of the Future. It's the best card to pick. And I get to go ahead and remove 2 cards there. So working towards Dark Alice being able to flip. Tap for stone. Go ahead and play. He's got 2 cards in hand. But he's not tapped out. But I go ahead and commit to it anyway just to mess up the plays. So I go ahead and do Soul Hunt. Discard to the Dream of Juliet. I discard a Stoning to Death. We both shuffle our Cheshire Cats back in. And then I actually just play another Soul Hunt. So now again, we're both sitting at 0 cards on field and in hand. Now I could be removing those Cheshire Cats from his grave before they get shuffled. The point, you can respond to Cheshire Cat's effect going on the chase with Dark Alice. You just RFG it. He's going to go ahead and pay 4 to stack a card on the top of his deck. So that he can draw into it. So he drew into the card for the turn. He taps for the perfect stone, hits himself for 200 damage, letting him play Celestial Winged Seraph. Out comes Lucifer. Draw for turn. I pay 200s to remove 3 cards from his graveyard, hitting everything that matters. Flipping 2 Judgment. And I declare 5 at Resolution. To pop the Celestial Winged Seraph. I can do 2, and I do a Godsart, so now he's got a permanent -2 on his side of the board, and I have a Schrodinger out in play, ready to make use of. And I just pass the turn. So now, because I had 5 cards removed, Dark Alice is a 14/14, which feels really comfortable. So he taps for a stone. Fashion 0 in response to the attack, which puts him down to being a 5/5 with no flying, and I'm going to go ahead and block with 0, so we trade. I just essentially just make it a 1-for-1, clear the way for Dark Alice. Now in response, he could have given Lucifer lifelink and gained 500 life, but at this point that really isn't super important. But I guess if you want to get all the damage you can, if you want to stay alive for as long as you can, Dark Alice just gets to hit him for 14 here, making him down to 20. So at the end of his turn, he really only needs to pay 3. He doesn't need to pay 4. Just because his Jade Ruler is still Shion at this point. But at the moment, I didn't catch it, neither did he. I guess last game he was paying 4 for it. He paid 4 for it after I killed Shion. So he's going to look through his deck, and he really doesn't have much left to be able to answer Dark Alice in terms of, everything he has is kind of too slow. So he looks through his deck a little bit, and he actually just kind of says he concedes. So there you have it, guys. That is the match. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment sections down below. Deck list will be up this Saturday. Thanks to Greg for letting me get this match with him. And as always, this is DMO73 signing off.